Disney's Pop Century Resort is considered the best value resort at Walt Disney World, so let's take a look at the resort and see why it is in fact the best value resort you can find here. Pop Century is a value resort that is located on the Skyliner route, making it super convenient to both Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and the Boardwalk area of Disney. The resort is themed to pop culture throughout different decades and is separated by the decades 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Here is a look at what the standard rooms look like. I did not do a full resort room tour here because these rooms are actually currently being refurbished as I record this video. So once they are fully done and all fresh and new, I will get a video to show you what they look like. Alright, so let's take a look at the resort. When you first walk in, here is what the lobby looks like. Over to the right here is where you'll check in. They have lots of different pop culture memorabilia on the walls from different decades. One thing that's new is the character experience now happens at all of the resorts. So if you happen to be here, definitely check out the signage to find out when the character caravan will be visiting. Right off the main lobby is Everything Pop. Everything Pop is actually a gift shop and dining kind of all in one. They're connected through the back of the shop, so let's take a look at the gift shop first. This is a pretty decent sized shop. They have everything you would normally expect at a Disney gift shop: ears, backpacks, they have pool items. Since this is a Skyliner resort, they do have Skyliner themed items. And then they also have resort specific items as well. So if you're a big fan of Pop Century, you can find some very cute Pop Century themed items here. They also have the standard snacks, wine, bottled water, any kind of food that you'd be able to use in your room. And then right through this corridor, there is the food court. The food court is a pretty standard food court for a value resort. They offer the same things that most value resorts offer, like burgers, pizza, chicken. For breakfast, you can find things like Mickey waffles, omelets, breakfast sandwiches. This is where you would flip your refillable mug if you bought one. You can find coffee, tea, and soft drinks here. All of those are included with your purchase of a refillable mug. The food court was recently redone and now features all of these fun, bright colors that is supposed to match the rest of the aesthetic of the resort for the pop culture theme. There's also some fun, comfortable seating options, and overall, it's just a really fun vibe. They also installed a specialty coffee counter. The coffee counter also has a pastry case. At the specialty coffee counter, you'll find things like frappes, lattes, you'll find like chai there. Coffee drinks mostly. If you don't want like regular drip coffee, you can get it over here. Okay, so if we head back out to the lobby, we're gonna go check out really quick where you can find the buses. Here is where you will take the bus, and the buses will take you to Animal Kingdom, Magic Kingdom, Disney Springs, and the water park. The bus stops are uncovered, so you are fully exposed to weather elements like rain and sun. And then if we head back into the resort and go all the way to the end of this lobby area, you'll find Fast Forward, which is the arcade. This is great for when it's really super hot outside or when it's rainy. You know, Orlando weather can just be so unpredictable. They have Guitar Hero, air hockey, they have this fun photo booth over here. Lots of different games. Alright, let's come out of the resort now. Walking straight through, you will find the main pool. And right in front of the pool is where you're going to find the resort activities listed, like movies under the stars, the campfire, any kind of little activities that they have, like maybe tie-dyeing shirts, stuff like that. You'll find that whole list of activities right here. The pool bar is also out here. I will show you a better view of that in a minute. Disney also recently brought back the pilot program for airport luggage check-in. This is such a great service. I'm really hoping they roll it out to all of the resorts. Right now it is only available for value resorts. We used it a lot before they got rid of it, and it is really convenient. Right now it's only available to Southwest customers, but if you're at Pop Century and you plan to use that, you can just bring your luggage right here and they will help you get it checked in. Alright, so from here we're going to go to the right and check out the 50s section. The 50s section is actually the first section of the resort that they're redoing these rooms, so if you happen to stay here in a couple months, say at the end of the summer or so, and you get in a 50s building, the room that you have might actually be completely refurbished. The rooms here are set up like a motel with the door on the outside, so that is just something to keep in mind. So in the 50s section, we get Lady and the Tramp as our little Disney tribute. The 50s section does have its own pool. It also has its own guest laundry room. Here's a view of the pool from the ground level. It is shaped like a bowling pin, which is actually super cute, and I don't think most people realize it, but when you see it from up above, you can tell it is really cute. This is a great pool to hang out at if the main pool is too far, or if it's too loud, or too busy, or chaotic, or if you're just staying in this section and you just want to have a really easy walk to the pool. Right around the corner here is guest laundry. Pretty much at every pool, there's also going to be a guest laundry, and this is kind of standard for Disney. It's not always 100%, especially at the value resorts. Whenever you see a pool, there's probably going to be a laundry room very close by. And then there's a little ping pong table over here. And that is the 50s section. We're going to go visit Lady, and then we will be out of the 50s. And there she is, so cute. These are such fun photo ops through here, these larger than life icons. Alright, let's head up to the 60s section. Now, if you book a preferred room, you'll most likely end up in the 60s section. 60s is considered preferred, but there are two buildings in both the 50s and 70s that are also preferred. So if you book a preferred room and you do want to stay in this area, you can always request that. It's never guaranteed, but you can request it. All of the rooms in this area will be preferred. So if you do not book a preferred room, you will not be staying in this section. Here is the guest laundry room and restrooms for this area. You also have a little ping pong table, and here's a look at the Hippy Dippy pool, which is the main pool at Pop Century. The pool is shaped like a daisy, so cute. The flowers that are coming up off of the pool edge, they actually sprinkle when the pool is open. So I obviously got these videos while the pool was still closed so that I wasn't having to worry about filming people. But normally when the pool is open, you would see sprinklers out of those flowers. It's a super cute pool. It can get really busy at times, especially when it's super hot out. And it can get pretty loud. This is where they play the music, where they have the pool games. This is where a lot of the pool activities happen. Over here, there is also a really nice splash area, which is actually not very common for value resorts. So that's a really nice extra perk for Pop Century. All right, and then if you keep following this path, you're going to get to the Skyliner station. This Skyliner station only takes you to the main hub, so that's really important to note. You can't actually get to any of the parks from this Skyliner station specifically. You're going to want to take this Skyliner station over to the main hub, which is at Caribbean Beach, and then from there, you'll get off the Skyliner and then get back on the Skyliner to either go to Hollywood Studios or Epcot. It is really easy to follow the signs, and there's cast members, but just so you are aware. All right, so coming back around to the other side, our little Disney tribute that we have over here is going to be Mowgli and Baloo from Jungle Book. Again, these are just such cute photo ops. If you're someone who likes taking pictures like this, Pop Century has so many of them. All right, heading back up, you can see this is where the pool bar is. It's called Petals. You can get pretty standard things here, mixed drinks, frozen drinks. They do have a few non-alcoholic drinks. They also sell a few bar snacks, things like pretzels, stuff like that. And then on the back of the building is actually where you'll see the iconic pop sign. Alright, so if we wrap around this way, you're going to find Goofy. This is another fun photo op. People love this. If you want to get your picture here, plan to stand in line because there's almost always a line every time I've ever been there. Everybody loves this Goofy statue. Right in this section is also where the campfire is, so if you want to roast marshmallows or make s'mores, this is where you're going to want to meet. And we're going to veer off down this path just because I want to show you the playground. The playground over here is tucked away in the shade, which is really nice because not all of the playgrounds are in shade at the resorts, so having one pretty much completely covered by shade is amazing for Florida. All right, we're gonna go back over this way, back towards Goofy, and then go into the 70s section. In the 70s section, there are some fun little games over here. You can play like Twister. That's on the ground. And then in this section, the fun icons are Big Wheel, Foosball, and a Mickey phone. It is such a fun area. And then coming over here, you'll see what I mean about Twister. So there's Twister painted on the ground, and then there's a spinner on a board. So, you know, it's like fun to have those little games throughout, kind of built in. And as we come out of the 70s section, we're actually going to come to the New Balance running trail. And this trail is really fun because it gives you some fun facts along the way. And then Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head are over here. This is another really popular photo op. And then coming up into this section is actually the 80s and the 90s combined. The two sections are together and they do share a pool. Our little Disney theme over here is Roger Rabbit, and you can see some Toontown behind him. And then the other part of this section has a lot of like technology stuff. So you've got computers, headphones, like a Walkman. Right here is the laundry room and the restroom, again, right by the pool. And here you can see the pool. The computer pool is pretty basic, but it is really nice because it's so far away from the main area that if you are back here, it is just going to be such a good time saver to be able to use this pool rather than having to go all the way up to the main pool, unless of course you want to do that. And then if we leave the same way that we came in, we can walk along this trail so you can kind of see what that looks like. Plus, it is a little bit faster, like I said, than going all the way through each section, depending on exactly where you're at. And if you continue to follow this trail, eventually it will bring you back to the Skyliner station. So if you're staying back in the 80s and 90s, which really is like the furthest away from the Skyliner, it'll bring you the whole way there. And it'll usually be a lot faster, like I said, than going all the way through the sections, depending on where your room is. We're actually going to come up back through here to get back up to the main area. And that brings us back up to the main hall with everything pop, shopping, and dining. If you're looking to book a value resort at Walt Disney World, Pop Century is going to be the best value you can find in the value resort category. Now, it's not always the cheapest, and for good reason, but it is going to be the best value. The reason people always talk about Pop Century being the best resort is because it's on the Skyliner, which already gives it an edge when you're talking about transportation. As you can see from the video, at Pop Century, you can use any of the pools throughout the resort. Aside from that, Pop Century also has its own splash pad, which is not standard at value resorts at Walt Disney World. Pop Century is also walking distance to Art of Animation. You just walk across the bridge and you're there. And while you cannot use their pools, you can use their food court, you can use their playground, you can check out all the fun little photo ops without having to actually book a room there. Hopefully this video has been helpful for you to see everything that Pop Century has to offer, and if it'll be right for your next Disney vacation. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video.